get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Bill Giofu. And Bill, before I introduce you, he runs Sophia Models. You can check him out at SophiaModels.com. The first ever modeling agency I had. This is part of the top agency series. So it's good to start now. And Bill, here's a couple episodes people should check out that are interesting in this top, digital marketing agency series. We had Jason Swank. Jason Swank actually built up his agency to 8 figures and sold it, and then he started buying up agencies. So there's 2 separate episodes actually. Then he talks about how he built it up, the valuation space, the agency space, and just the business space as well. I had Kevin Hurrigan of Spinutech. Bill, Kevin started his agency in 1995. So it was interesting to hear the landscape of the internet, of business, and the agencies like throughout the past couple decades. So that was a really cool episode as well. So check those out on InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise 25. Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution. So kind of, Bill, we call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background and make it look easy for the hosts. They can create amazing content and amazing relationships. Most importantly, run their business. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways and how I can give to my best relationships. And I have found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and the companies I most admire and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com, or you can email us at support@rise25.com. I am super excited to introduce Bill Giofu, and he's the founder of Sophia Models International. And you can check him out at SophiaModels.com. And he's actually a former international model, and they have over 50 TV commercials and film productions. They've actually worked with companies like Amazon, Chanel, Crocs, Columbia, Gap, Louis Vuitton, and there's many, many more. You can go, and we're going to pull up their site in a second because it's so visual of the different models, the talent, and different clients they've worked with. So, Bill, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Let's start off, and I'm gonna pull up Sophia Models. So if you are listening to the audio, there will be a video component to this. But talk about Sophia Models and what you do.
Well, Sophia Models basically is an agency that promotes models to locally and also international markets also, such as, Milan, China, Japan, Korea. We have a girl leaving next week for Korea. We also promote models locally here that do, jobs for locally here. WestJet is a company here in Calgary that's based in Calgary. I'm sure everybody knows about WestJet. Then the other companies also that we've worked with, Dick's Sporting Goods has come up to Canada and shot here in Alberta. Tiffany, Sport Check, Marks. Of course, we worked for Wrangler and also Toyota. We've done stuff for Visa. Amazon just shot here last year in November, I believe it was. So we've worked with some top agencies or clients, I should say, and our agency is definitely pumped about doing more work for those clients and also others.
I want to hear about how you first started. What was the idea behind Sophia Models?
Well, actually, we split off from another agency to start Sophia Models. So I was with another agency in 1996. I started my company, and I was working like a franchisee. It was called a licensee. And so I worked with that agency, and then we split in 2010. And when we did that, over 98% of the local models came with us. And we were really, excited to see that many individuals come over with us. So it was pretty cool.
Marketplaces I find are tough, right? Because you have the model, the talent, and then also the client side. Let's talk about them kind of individually, building up the talent pool. Like who's, uh, obviously I see apply. How does it work to become one of the talent or models for Sophia Models?
Well, there's numerous ways. Of course, like you said, we can hit on the apply on our website. Also, we have open calls. Actually, we're having an open call this Saturday from 2 to 4 right at our office here in Calgary. And, anybody can come between, we look for, people that can work now type thing. So anywhere between 16 years old and up. So they can come on to that casting call. It's, like I said, it's this Saturday. Also, we see people on the street or in stores. One of my assistant Elena, she found a girl in a consignment store. Was staring at her as she was purchasing her items and gave her a card. And 4 months later, she was off to Japan, or sorry, China. So yeah, so it works like that. I've actually seen models go right from Calgary to other locales in the world, and I've done great work. So that's basically how we find people. We get referrals too. Some of our models have friends or relatives or whatever, and they refer our agency to them.
I want to walk through a little bit of how it works. Let's take maybe Wrangler, for example. Let's sort of, how did they even find you?
I believe they just they were actually in Calgary and did a search, of course, for the agencies. And we applied for the demographic they wanted. And we had two models on their particular gig. And it was a fantastic gig. It was probably one of the largest we've done. So we had two models on that particular production, and they did 2 days work for $750 Canadian here in
That's
Calgary.
why
And
they film in Canada because it's cheaper,
that's
right?
right. That's right. So 750 a day they got for 2 days. And then they did a buyout. Buyout and usage fee is the same thing. So they'll say we're going to use this particular production, video or pictures for 2 years, and they paid $6,000 for that 2 years for the usage of it. And then they came back 2 years later and bought it out again for another 6,000. So, the models in their pockets probably got around, $13,000, $14,000 in their pocket for a 2 day gig. So that's one of our better jobs that we've had. And Wrangler was excited to have it. And of course, they, bought it out for the second 2 years. So they must have liked it.
How does it work, Bill? Does Wrangler come to you and go, hey, we need two, females around, 36? I mean, are they giving you exact specs, or they just, how does it work when they approach you? What do they need from you?
Yes, exactly, Dr. Jeremy. We go from what the clients request from us. Maybe somebody between 22 and 32. They don't nowadays. We don't get a lot of height requirements or size requirements. It has been fantastic actually, because we used to have models that were 5'5" and we couldn't promote them, but now we can promote girls and guys that are 5'2". So it's really good in that way. We can the diversity has really helped us in promoting people that are not the typical model look. We still want those type for the international markets because that's what they require. But locally here, that's a requirement that, say, Wrangler may ask and say, yeah, between 22 and 32. They don't these times they don't ask too much for height or anything like that. They'll definitely say diversity is required. So that's
So
a big thing.
like they'll say like I want a buff older man, and they see Alejandro here, and then they want to hire him.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Okay. And
Well,
then
they might be, if you want to, Dr. Jeremy, we will put you on the site too.
that's a scary thought. Actually, I have been on some infomercials, but more from my chiropractic background, not for looks wise. They weren't hiring for that. But talk about the difference. We have models and talent. What's the difference there?
Yeah, so talent are more towards the acting side of things. So we'll have individuals that want to act and can act, and are used in videos and TV commercials mostly. Modeling, you know, in actuality, modeling is acting. You'll have somebody standing there, and the photographer say, "Well, pretend that you're, seeing a bird in the sky, or you're seeing a beautiful, bouquet of flowers, or something like that." So you have to react, even if you're modeling, you still have to act. So, they go hand in hand. You'll notice a lot of celebrities that were models are now actors, and vice versa. A lot of celebrities that are actors are now doing photo shoots and videos, for advertising campaigns, right? So it goes hand in hand. But to separate them, we kind of do, but we really shouldn't. Basically, well, yeah, it is what it is, right?
Talk about Amazon for a second.
Ah, yeah, Amazon was a great client. They came into Calgary, and they used our agency, and I think we had five individuals on, and we had a couple with their little girl on, filming in their house, and then we have a young gentleman that is blind. He's a teenager, and I submitted him to Amazon, and he plays piano. So he was playing his piano, and he was playing the piano on the actual advertisement, the video that Amazon did. So yeah, it was fantastic to have Amazon here in Calgary and do their shoot here. It was a very good paying job for the individuals. I think they got something like $2,500 for the job that they did each. So the family was really happy with all three of them on.
You know, talk about working with those clients for Amazon. How did Amazon find you?
Well, I think because they were in Calgary, of course, then they searched, the Calgary agencies, and that's basically how they find us. Is if they're in a city, then the clients usually search in that particular city for an agency that can supply individuals. So I believe that's how they found
Yeah.
us.
And talk about the international side, because I know you go all over, I mean, including Ukraine.
Yes. Well, the fact about you're right. Ukraine. We have I hired a girl. Her name is Elena, and she's been with us for over a year now. And she was an international scout agent in Kharkiv, Ukraine. And so she's been working in the industry for over 25 years. I'd say she's one of the top international agents in Canada, without a doubt. I've seen her work, I've seen what she does. So she promotes along with myself. Of course, I have input too, and she has a lot of input because she knows what she's doing. So we find girls, and she promotes them to her agencies that she has connections with, long-term connections, I might add, because she's been in the industry so long. So they know her, these agencies like in China, in Japan, in Korea, even in Italy. We have a guy in Italy right now. His name is River, and he's in Italy right now. And so she placed him to all these individual countries, and her connections are amazing. And so when I first met with her and talked to her and seen all her connections, I'm like, wow, this girl has to be with our agency. So yeah, so that's the way we kind of operate. We'll promote a girl to say Korea or China, and we get responses from them. We have to send them digital pictures of them and a walking video most likely, and then they'll say, yeah, we want to have a Zoom meeting with that individual, see how they act and react. And then of course, we have to send a whole bunch of pictures because they require that. They want people who are somewhat experienced. And then they go off to that country. They have to get a visa. and they sign a 3-year contract, sorry, 3-month contract with that particular agency, and they have tons of clients, in these international cities, right?
Are sometimes the people local there, like if they're filming in Korea and you have talent in Korea, or is it mostly they're kind of flying from wherever they are to the destination?
Yes, you're right. They from Calgary, they'll fly to that destination and work in that city for 3 months. Of course, in China, there's so many other, big centers that they'll fly out of, one of the cities into another city and do a job there, fly back that next day or something like that. We have a girl in Kosovo that applied to our agency. We got her set up with a few photographers in Kosovo, and now we have a couple of clients in, I think, in Istanbul and also in Korea that are interested in having her come to their cities. So we're still working on that, but yeah. So we book people from other countries and push them into the locales where it's busy, right? Because Calgary isn't as busy as those other centers, right?
I could see, it's really, I would love to talk about use cases, right? TV commercials is obviously a big use case. And I mentioned film. Talk about film. What type of, contacts do you get in with the film industry and jobs for the people?
Yeah. So right now we're having a movie being shot here by the name of Jean Benet Ramsey story that happened in Colorado in 1996. So we're booking people on that. We had a young lady audition for Miss Virginia. It was a scene that the mother of the daughter, Jean Benet, was in her past history. I believe in her early 20s, she was in Miss Virginia. So they did that. We book, things on Billy the Kid. That's a series that's being shot here right now. Also, The Abandons was here. Under the Banner of Heaven was here. So we've worked on all those and submitted people for stand-ins, for photo doubles, background people. So yeah, so that's kind of how it works. When they're shooting in Alberta, in Calgary especially, they'll come to the agencies here and book people.
You know, Bill, what's interesting is, a lot of people growing up, I mean, maybe they are. I mean, for most people aren't like, I want to start a modeling agency when I grow up, right? So when you were young, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a basketball player or a football player.
Basketball player.
Yeah, or football.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not hockey.
Yeah,
I'm
I couldn't
stereotyping
couldn't
Canadians for
afford the
a
skates and the
second.
tuition and all that stuff, right?
It's
So
expensive.
football and basketball is my sport in high school. All star in both. Back in Regina, Saskatchewan, where I'm originally from, where I was born. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And then my daughter, I had a daughter when I was younger, early 20s, and she wanted to get into modeling. So that's how I kind of got started. Um, I took her in, and then my other daughter got in, and they both did TV commercials. And
How
then
did
the
you
agent,
navigate that as a parent for them? Were you just contacting, because like now it's professionalized and people are contacting you, but back then, how were you getting them into different gigs?
I contacted that particular an agency, a small agency in Regina, did photo shoots, and then my daughter's got TV commercials and photo shoots from them. One for Kentucky Fried Chicken. At that time, it was Kentucky Fried Chicken, and not KFC as it is now. So, and radio stations, stuff like that. Then the agent asked me to model, and at first I was quite hesitant. I was still married at that time. After I split up and went to a counselor because I was distraught of being in a separation from a marriage. The counselor told me, "Hey, why don't you try what your dream was?" And so I had in the back of my mind, so I went back to that same agency, and they got me started. And then I just branched out. I was supposed to go to Chicago, actually. I think that was your hometown, and or Toronto, but I wanted to be near my daughters, and I stayed closer. So I was 8 hours away from uh, from Regina, Saskatchewan. I came to Calgary here, and that's where I started my modeling career, basically.
That's so you kind of got into it because of your daughters, it sounds like.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And you did I don't know if it was professional football, but you played some serious football. Talk about that.
Yes. Well, when I was modeling in Spain, you always want to look for connections and, somewhere that you can, lay your bed type thing. And so me and this other fellow I just met him at a restaurant. And so we were out and about, and this guy came up to us and he says, "Hey, do you play American football?" And I'm like, "Well, I play Canadian football because I'm Canadian." He goes, "Well, why don't you come out and try out for our team?" And I said, "Well, sure, okay." Because, I thought, well, connections, who knows what can happen from this and all that, right? So football in Spain in 1989, sorry, 92 it was at that time, wasn't very big. And so, I played throughout high school, even before high school. So I knew the techniques. The football there was very new. So the guy says, "Come on out and try out." So I said, "Okay." So he gave me these old cleats and put on these old pads and all that. So anyway, went out and practiced. He goes, "Hey, man," he says, in broken English, "Go down, do a post and, turn in and catch the ball." I said, "Okay, no problem." So I go in, catch the ball, boom. Defensive half was in front of me. So I just leaned down, gave him a little bump. He went flying. Like I said, these guys had no technique. And then the coach came to me and he's like, "Wow, man, I want you on our team. Let's go." So we ended up in the Spanish final in the,
This
we were,
was like tackle football with full pads and
it
helmet.
was American League football, full
Yeah.
on top tail, tackle, everything. Four downs, all that, everything to do with American football. Boom.
How big are you, Bill? I can't tell on
Uh,
Zoom. How tall are you?
well, well, I've shrunk. I'm 5'10" now. I used to be 6 foot, but in the modeling world, you always say it. Uh, you're at least 2 inches taller, right? Actually, I was actually 5'11", 5'11" and a half. I would always put so.
You got to add that half in there.
Exactly.
Talk about some of the challenges with running an agency like this?
Sorry, question again. Sorry.
Some of the challenges of running an agency like this. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of logistics involved because it's international. There's gigs all over the place. What do you find over the years that's been kind of a challenge?
Well, I would say, the social media has really affected our industry. Before, to do a photo shoot, they would have to come through an agency. Uh, so it's kind of hard these days. Not hard, but it's harder, I should say, because social media, they can go to somebody on, Instagram and say, "Hey, you want to do a shoot for $200?" And but they don't get a professional person a lot of time. Um, yeah.
Yeah, in your
So
case, it's kind of vetted, obviously, it's professionalized where maybe people are, I mean, I guess that's with every industry, right? You can go on and find cheaper labor on the internet, but if you want something more professional, you kind of have to pay for it.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you hear talent, they say, "Well, can we hire a model?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." "How long is this going to take?" And I said, "Well, a professional model, if you really want to do one shot, it can be done in an hour, but 2 hours, whatever, right?" But they go, "Oh, that's short." And I go, "Well, it's a professional model, so they know how to move. You'll get your shots and all that, right?" So yeah, and sometimes they'll pay, a non-professional for 5 hours, $100 an hour, right? Whereas you can do it for a shorter time for a professional model. So yeah.
Talk about, I want to hear just the hiring process and what kind of key hires you've made over the years with Sophia Models, like internally as the staff goes?
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, you definitely need people that are excited about the industry. If they're not excited about the fashion industry or the industry in a whole as a whole, then, they have to have a passion for it. So those are the type of people that we look for. Even like I said, Elena, she doesn't know anything else, and she's told me that. She says she will not work for any other business or anything. Modeling is her life, So, as far as she's concerned, this is going to be her life for who knows how long. But it has been for life for the last 25 years, and definitely want people who are fashionable. And I used to be fashionable. I don't know if I'm fashionable anymore, but for sure, you need to find that type of individual, and those are the individuals that we look for. Our photographers too, we have to have photographers that, are fashion sensitive, or have the sense for fashion, right? I've had other, portrait photographers or landscape photographers or product photographers. They don't have what a fashion photographer has. You have to have a certain look, you have to have certain lighting, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a different dynamics when you're looking for individuals for a fashion industry like ours. So there's a lot of variations, there's no doubt.
So for um, a business like yours, you need photographers, you need kind of like talent agents, obviously models and talent. What else is kind of behind the scenes that people don't see as far as staff goes?
Well, we need stylists. We need somebody to style the outfits that individuals wear. We need makeup and hair people. Usually, I look for an individual that does both makeup and hair. A lot easier, one individual instead of having two. So we look for those type of individuals. And usually, people behind the scenes, you need a director too, to tell the model how to move if they don't know how to move. And a lot of times that's who we work with. We work with individuals that are their first time doing a photo shoot. And we find them on the street and they go, "Oh, I had no idea I could do this." Yeah, you have a great look. You're thin, you got the look. Like I said before, you don't have to be thin anymore, but you have the good look that would be fantastic. Give you an example. We had a girl, she's half black and she has curly brown hair, right? And a fantastic looking young lady. She's in her middle or early 40s. And she's gotten probably about in the last year. She was referred to us by another one of our models. She's a hairstylist actually, and was cutting our model's hair. And he said, "Hey, why don't you think about modeling?" So she came on with us probably about a year and a half ago. She's probably done somewhere around 5 TV commercials, 6 maybe. One of the bigger ones, she did a Skittles commercial out of the USA. The Skittles company came up and shot up here, and she was cast for it. So great little gig for her.
I'm curious, Bill, you mentioned, you don't have to be thin anymore, right? I'd love for you to talk about how stigmas have changed a little bit in the modeling world.
Yes. Yeah, stigma. It's right. Well, it's not us agents that ask for individuals to be a certain way. Back in the day, I had a client by the name of Marks, still work with them. Actually, I'm just booking something for them next week. Marks is a huge, they used to be it used to be called Marks Work Warehouse. Now they've changed the name just to Marks. And they book, female, male, kids, all that type of stuff. So now, before 5 years ago, they used to ask for individuals that were girls, 5'9" and up, and 35-inch hip. Now that's at the biggest part of the butt, 35 inches. Can you imagine that, Dr. Jeremy? That's thin. Anyway, they now are asking for all types. It doesn't matter, size. They're even asking for plus size, which is fantastic for us. We love that. It opens up our market to, you know, submit girls and guys that don't fit, quote, the modeling look. They're still models, but it's not the old stereotype, like you put it, of the 5'10", 120 or 110, 100-pound girls. So it's a lot different nowadays.
What's changed, you think?
Society, I guess, diversity, inclusion, all that stuff.
It was interesting. I was in London,
Hmm.
and there was Naomi Campbell exhibit at the museum. And it was very interesting. Just it was like everything from her childhood all the way up to her whole career. I'm getting that wrong. Hold on. Who was it? Maybe it was is Naomi Campbell the supermodel?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it was just interesting to see because at the time it seemed like, you know, she broke the mold, with from because everyone else before it was white, right? And so it was
Right.
really quite interesting to see the, like you said, kind of the evolution of the times through this exhibit. So I totally kind of experienced it. I'd never didn't think of myself, oh, I'm going to go to a supermodel exhibit or something like that when I'm going to the museum, but that's what was there, and it was quite interesting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Um, Bill, there's some challenging times we go through in our life, and I know you were mentioning something before we hit record on maybe to talk about just from like an overcoming standpoint, some things you've had to overcome.
Yeah. I was high school football star. They picked me as an all-star, in basketball too. And, when you're a teenager, you like to celebrate and you like to celebrate with your teammates. And so I did a lot of drinking in high school and did some really stupid stuff uh, back in high school. And then throughout after also, it was continued on my drinking and I a lot of dumb stuff. And I was at a what we will call a Oktoberfest, and my sister was a director of this college and asked me to bartend, and I'm like, yes, bartend, free booze. So did that. My wife at that time. We were together, of course, but it was on rocky times, and so put a long story short, I ended up in jail after abusing her for one night only. Luckily, it was only one night, and I realized that what's a nice guy like me doing in a place like this when I was sitting in that jail cell. And I thought, wow, I shouldn't be here. So I knew a guy who was in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I contacted him. And from there, I just started going to AA meetings. And that was 77 years ago. And haven't been drunk since that time. So it was fantastic opportunity for me to straighten my life out. And I believe truly that if I had not sobered up at that time, I don't know where I would have been. It would have been a pretty rough road, I think, for myself. Um, yeah. So after that, for many years, I continued on to um, attend Alcoholics Anonymous. Excuse me, when I was in Spain, there was Spanish AA meetings, but there was a bunch of people from Canada and also from England that were in Spain, and we didn't speak Spanish, so we started an English-speaking Spanish AA meeting. Um, so it was quite unique, and in fact, when I was in Spain, that was when I was playing football, and we ended up in a Spanish final. And I was telling the people at the AA meeting I was going to be in a final, and this lady who's been sober for a long time, she came up to me and she was so worried for me. She goes, "Bill, I don't want you to win that championship." I go, "Well, what do you mean? Why not? That's our whole purpose." She goes, "Yeah, but you know what? You're going to drink champagne after." And I said, "No, no, don't worry. I won't drink any champagne, So yeah, it's interesting. And, I've lived a long time without alcohol, and I believe it's only improved my life, being through that. And then, in AA, you have to basically have a spiritual life. And so I pursued that. And so I am where I am today.
Bill, I have one last question before I ask it. I just want to point everyone to check out sophiamodels.com to learn more about what you and the company does. My last question is mentors. Who are some of the business mentors, professional mentors you've had over the course of your career that have been influential?
Well, business. I love business. I also own some real estate stuff too. So I had a really good AA sponsor. In fact, he owned an iron business and supplied iron equipment and products to himself, because he also did the building of these iron structures. So that's what he did. His name was Roman, and he was also a man of faith. He went to the Orthodox Church, and when I was a child, I also went to the Orthodox Church and was baptized Orthodox. And after Alcoholics Anonymous, I started searching out what was better, because in AA they always say, search out something better and watch where the man of the cloth is righteous and also to lead you. So I sought these individuals out, and Roman was one of the fellows that I really hung on to and looked up to. And today, because of him and because of other circumstances, I am now a strong Orthodox Christian and serving the altar in that church in Calgary here. And of course, the priests at that church, I look up to them and their wives and their children, because Orthodox priests can get married. And so I look up to our priests in our church and the good role models. And of course, Roman, who is retired now, but still, he was a very good influence on my life. And there's also I have to mention the owner of of Models. He was the fellow that I worked with for the president, and he showed me a lot of great things. And so we had a good friendship, in the past. And so I looked up to him. And also there's quite a few individuals that own businesses now that I can reflect on and say, yeah, they helped me in my life and in my business. So, showing their examples of their lives and how they carried out their business lives really stood out to me. So yeah, some of the guys.
Bill, I would be the first one to thank you. Everyone, check out sophiamodels.com. Check out more episodes of the podcast. We'll see everyone next time. Bill, thanks so much.
Thank you.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.